And a very warm welcome to Addis News Hour with the news. I'm Shifara Olaka. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has extended his deepest condolences over the killing of innocent civilians in Matakal Zone, Benishangul Gumuz State. On his official Facebook page, the Premier said, "Our efforts to resolve the problem in various ways didn't bring the required outcomes. The objective of our enemies is to break up the strong power that we have against the junta. This will not succeed," he added. Prime Minister Abiy has announced the deployment of necessary forces to address the root causes of security problems in Matakal Zone. He has also called on everyone to work together as usual to achieve the required results. In another story, the second Ethio-Sudan high-level political dialogue held in Khartoum for 2 days on border issues has been concluded. Higher officials of the two countries have exchanged views on the current situation in border areas. Addressing the dialogue, Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister of Ethiopia, Demeke Mekonnen, has underlined the government of Ethiopia is very much concerned by recent developments. Members of the Tigray Special Forces and militia who surrendered to the National Defense Force say they had entered into war forced by the clique without their consent. The Board of Inquiry has supervised the implementation of the state of emergency in light of treatment of captives in Shire and other areas. Commending the fair humanitarian treatment of special forces and militia, the board said issues such as water shortage need to be resolved soon. The National Electoral Board of Ethiopia has announced the cancellation of the registration of a total of 26 political parties. The political parties had failed to meet the conditions and present satisfactory documents to the Electoral Board. The board also said that examination of documents of 12 political parties is still underway. The board has completed investigation of documents of 40 political parties. Ethiopia and Sudan are working together to settle issues following the recent clashes on the Ethio-Sudan border. Ambassador Dina Mufti made the remark in an exclusive interview with ETV Language. Federal government operation to restore law and order in Tigray state has been successfully completed in accordance with the international law, he has added. Kasaun Chane reports.
Briefing ETV English on various issues in an exclusive interview held today, spokesperson of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Ethiopia, Ambassador Dina Mufti, said that the Ethiopian and Sudanese leaders agreed to settle the recent border clash at a negotiating table. The ambassador added that both leaders on the occasion pledged to bring an end to the recurrent border clashes of militia groups, stating the government of Ethiopia is very much concerned by this recent development in the border areas.
During the extraordinary assembly of the head of states of the 38th IGAD meeting, or assembly of head of states, and it was the role of Ethiopia was actually to persuade both sides to come together and discuss the tensions, because the tension serves neither the interest of Somalia nor that of Kenya. Rather, it doesn't serve also the interest of the region. It's counterproductive. Therefore, those leaders were persuaded or counseled by our leadership, particularly His Excellency Dr. Abiy Ahmed, the Prime Minister of our country, has played a prominent role in this regard because he has a track record of bringing these neighboring countries together. This emanates from his track record that he has had during his mediation role in South Sudan as well. And this is what has happened, and it was very much productive and successful.
With regard to the law enforcement operation, Ambassador Dina also mentioned that the federal government's operation to restore law and order in the Tigray region has been successfully completed in accordance with the international law. He also stated that the government's move on the law enforcement operation is of paramount importance to further maintain peace and security across the nation, and more future works to be undertaken to aware the international community about the reality in the nation.
In the northern part of Ethiopia had been an internal matter of the country. This is a message that has been trying to communicate to the rest of the world. It had been communicated to the African countries, and I think the African countries have taken it very well. They have taken it as such. We have expressed this also to the rest of the world, including the European countries and the Asians, and Excellency Mr. Demek, Deputy Prime Minister and the Foreign Minister, had been engaging a lot of authorities, particularly officials of the foreign affairs and even head of states of different countries. And he was trying to explain to them what had been happening and the objective, the cause, and they were very content of these operations. And he was explaining to them that this is an operation that is being conducted to make sure that law and order is maintained in Ethiopia. He was explaining to them that this is an internal matter of Ethiopia. He was telling them that in so many different ways that this is an internal matter. It's not directed against a particular community. It's not an act directed against Tigrayans as it has been being portrayed by some media outlets. It is simply an operation to maintain law and order and to bring the fugitives to the law. International law that prohibits interventions or interference in internal affairs of the sovereign country. This is an enshrined law in the UN. This is an enshrined law in so many laws governing international relations. And protection of the law and order. Working towards maintaining law and order is actually a sovereign right of an independent country, and it is a case where nobody should try to intervene, and this is what has happened. It's legitimate.
Ethiopia urges the current developments, which are further changing the reality on the ground, should be seized immediately.
Now, Ethiopians residing in Djibouti have donated over 1.1 million birr to the National Defense Force of Ethiopia. They have lamented the betrayal of the Ethiopian Defense Force by the TPLF clique and commended the government's law enforcement measure. They also said they will continue and strengthen their support in the future.
ክቡር አምባሳደር የተለያዩ የህብረተሰብ ክፍሎችን ሰብስበው
After our Ethiopian ambassador here in Djibouti gave us sufficient briefing, we Ethiopian community here organized committees of 20 to coordinate the fundraising, asking ourselves what is expected of us to take part in the government's law enforcement measure and to support our defense force. Based on the question and willingness of the community, we could fundraise over $28,500 within 10 days and deposited in the bank account of our defense force.
በባንክ በኩል ለመከላከያ ሰራዊት እንዲደርስ ያደረግነው
ከመከላከያዎቻችን ጎን መቆም አለበት ማንኛውም ኢትዮጵያዊ እንደቆመ
Our life is not as fulfilled as some other Ethiopian diasporas in other parts of the world. But when we call upon all Ethiopian community here to stand by our defense force, you will wonder how they immediately responded without complaining of their financial capacity. There are disputes and disagreements everywhere, including here, but I cannot tell you how firm stance we have in national issues. We have contributed more than 1.1 million birr and the fundraising hasn't stopped yet.
ልነግርህ አልችልም በአስቸኳይ ነው ከ1 ሚሊዮን 100 ሺህ በላይ ስቲል እየተሰበሰበ ነው
The Ministry of Health has called for strict adherence to guidelines to prevent the spread of the new coronavirus variant. Health Minister Dr. Leah Taddese said a range of activities will be carried out in the future to encourage the use of face masks while receiving and delivering various services. She said efforts to control the spread of the virus in Ethiopia were effective and caution should be exercised to prevent the spread of the coronavirus.
Even though the coronavirus pandemic does not cause serious damage, the disease has infected a large number of people and claimed the lives of many people. The people and the institutions who have been given due attention to the virus is declining. The prevention and negligence do not go together.
Dr. Leah stressed that the new coronavirus variant can increase vulnerability and guidelines should be implemented while providing social services.
Currently, the virus is constantly changing through mutation in the world. This increases vulnerability and risk, particularly in social and economic activities. When we reopen schools, we considered the virus will stay longer. If the prevention effort becomes slackens, the vulnerability of the disease increases more.
የመከላከል ስራው ከላላ በጣም አደገኛ ነገር ውስጥ ልንገባ እንደምንችል የሚያመላክተን ነው።
አብርሃ አጽባሃ ከአክሱም ተነስተው እዚህ ደሴት መጥተው መስዋዕት ሰውተው ያው እዚህ ቦታ ላይ እመቤታችን ቅድስት ድንግል ማርያምን ታቦቷን ተክለው እንዲሄዱ ይነገራል።
Welcome back. You're still watching Addis News Hour. The ongoing inclusive and massive reforms in Ethiopia targets alleviating deep-rooted poverty and backwardness across the country. Mamo Muretu, who is a senior policy advisor to the Prime Minister, has made the remark talking to Policy Matters program. Habtamo Shagri has that story.
Policy Matters. Policy Matters is a conversation platform.
Talking to Policy Matters, Mamo Muretu, who is a senior policy advisor of the Prime Minister, said the ongoing massive reform in the country aims to bring shared prosperity by elevating challenges in Ethiopia. According to Muretu, due to unfair political representation in the country, most Ethiopians are not recognizing the state of legitimized body in the past. He clarified the need of massive reform in Ethiopia that focused on taking the nation in a better condition.
The quest for reform in Ethiopia fundamentally is an effort to address the issue of shared prosperity in Ethiopia. But the second point is it has to do with the construction of the state itself. In the past, the state was not seen as legitimate in the eyes of all Ethiopians. So including Ethiopians in the governance, making sure that Ethiopians can identify with the state is another important subject of reform.
He stressed on the wide and strange political space over the past many years in Ethiopia, thereby resulting the formation of Prosperity Party in Ethiopia. And he mentions the pushing factor in the formation of the Prosperity Party.
Perhaps I would emphasize two important reasons behind the formation of the Prosperity Party. I think the first is there was a clear need to renew the ruling political party through centrist policies, centrist program, and centrist ideology. There was a huge demand from the public for the government to deliver on a number of areas. But if you look at the policy of EPRDF, it tends to divide society along different lines. If, for example, EPRDF's way of working was to establish an opposing reference group and demonize that group. And that is how they mobilize their supporters. But the second reason is to create a platform for all Ethiopians, all-inclusive platform for all Ethiopians to come together and forge a common vision. If you look at the EPRDF, it was a party of 4 political parties, and it didn't represent Ethiopians fully. It was based on this outmoded ideology and policy that there is a core and there is a periphery. So Prosperity wanted to create all-inclusive political platform where every Ethiopian would come together, agree on a common vision, and forge ahead towards prosperity with equal responsibility and equal right.
The formation of the Prosperity Party helps to streamline the decision-making process through the party, Mamo underlined. The policy advisor pointed out politicians' critics about the tendency of Prosperity Party to exercise unitary form of government in Ethiopia.
What Prosperity Party wants to do is change the past federalism that used to exist only in name to a true federalism. Now, Prosperity Party respects diversity. It respects and protects the diversity that exists in this country. And by the way, diversity is not a wrong thing. Diversity is something that needs to be treasured. And diversity is not a source of conflict. Tyranny is a source of conflict. Greed is a source of conflict. Diversity is not a source of conflict. So what Prosperity Party wants to do is respect, cherish, and protect diversity, but at the same time, focus on our shared common identity.
Over the past 2.5 years, the government of Ethiopia is undertaking remarkable activities to create independent democratic institutions to solve deep-rooted problems in the society.
Dreda City administration says it's been meeting SDG targets by lowering maternal and child mortality rates. The Health Bureau is also working to attain 100% health coverage, it was indicated. Santayo Tamrat reports.
Ethiopia adopted and has been implementing the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals to be met by 2030. Under the third goal, good health and well-being is included. The target to reduce the global maternal mortality ratio to less than 70 per 100,000 live births in the preventable deaths of newborns and children under 5 years of age, as well as reduce neonatal mortality to at least as low as 12 per 1,000 live births and under 5 mortalities to at least as low as 25 per 1,000 live births. The Dreda City Administration Health Bureau told ETV that it has been working for the attainment of these targets.
Regarding maternal death, we evaluated that our performance over the previous 5 years to be relatively good. We reached 195 deaths per 1,000 mothers. With our new plan for the next 10 years, we have set to lower this figure to 70 deaths per 1,000 births. This is in tandem with SDG targets for 2030. In like manner, we have been working to meaningfully reduce the number of infant and under 5 mortalities. In this regard, our current status in 36 infant death of 1,000 live births and 93 deaths per 1,000 under 5 children.
This is achieved through better maternal health care services at the health centers, she nodded. Jerusalem Zelleke, a nurse at one of the health centers in the city, has this to say.
We basically focus on prenatal care, though we deliver neonatal care as well. We help mothers come to us and properly attend their prenatal care properly. We also discuss the risks of absenteeism from health institution or avoid both prenatal and neonatal cares and give birth at home. So far, these efforts have yielded fruits. The number of mothers attending their prenatal care is highly increasing, and this leads them to safe delivery.
I came here for checkup on prenatal care. The nurses give me the necessary health care, including good advice. I also practice their advice because I want my baby to be healthy. For example, they tell us about diet, hygiene, and personal care. They also advise me on what's important to me and the fetus. It is really good service.
The Dorado Health Bureau is currently working to reach 100% health coverage in 2 years' time. The city currently has 15 government health centers and 2 hospitals, as well as 36 health stations. There are also over 20 private clinics and hospitals. The city has now achieved 97% healthcare coverage in the urban areas and 100% health coverage in rural areas. The ratio of health professionals to people is a little above national average, Lemlem indicated.
The WHO recommends 4.5 health professionals per 1,000 people, but we are now at 2.5 for 1,000 people, and this is still above the national average, which is about 1.6 for 1,000 people. However, we lagged far behind the target set for SDG 2030.
According to the head, the Bureau has faced issues like reagent and special drugs shortage and dilapidation of medical equipment.
Now, activities are well underway to finalize the construction of a Walmal irrigation development project in Bale Zone, Oromia State. Shortage of cement and the problem of infrastructural facilities are affecting the finalization of the project as per schedule. Habtam Ashagri has more on that.
The Walmal Irrigation Development Project is one of the making mega projects in Bale Zone of Oromia. This project has been commenced last year with an outlay of over 3.3 billion and is expected to be finalized by 2023. Some 20% of the main dam construction activities of the Walmal Irrigation Development Project finalized so far.
ወደ 20% ላይ ነው ያለው ትልቁ የውሃ መቀልበሻ ካናል
Currently, the construction of the main dam has reached 20%. We are constructing 30-kilometer main dam water diversion channel. We have also 120-meter crossing line. We have also 200-meter box culvert or box channel.
ካናል አለ እኛ እየሰራን ያለው አሁን ያለበት አፈጻጸም 13% ላይ ነው 4.4 ኪሎሜትር
The total project performance is reaching into 13%. The main canal of this project covers 4.4 kilometers. We have also 58 secondary, 78 tertiary and 350 quaternary canals in this project. This project has also 45 ponds. The Walmal Irrigation Development Project covers over 45,000 hectares of land.
Based on the existing construction performance, the construction of Walmal Irrigation Development Project will be commencing service per schedule.
We are in a good position in designing and quality controlling activities of this project. We are deploying human resource activities in this project. Thus, the construction of this project is in a good position. We have concluded 1 year over the total given 3 years of the project.
Contractors have said cement shortage and infrastructure facilities in the region negatively affecting the overall construction performance of the project.
እንደውም እኛ ከቻልነው ኮንትራቱ በፊት ለመጨረስ ነው ጥረት እያደረግን ያለነው
We are exerting our maximum effort to finalize the construction of the project. Currently, the shortage of cement is affecting the overall construction of the project.
በጣም ፕሮጀክቱን ወደ ኋላ እየጎተተ ነው ያለው።
Upon going fully operational, the Wellmill Irrigation Development Project is expected to develop over 11,000 hectares of land, and it will benefit over 20,000 households.